My Big Fat Diet Book by Richard Mason. Chapter 9. The Need for Change Just at the Right Time. 2016 onwards. In late January 2016, someone I used to work with kept going on about some diet club or slimming club in the town. She mentioned two main ones and she said, "Shall we go to one?" I said, "Yeah." To be honest, I said yes, but I never thought we'd actually go. I thought I'd say yes and then maybe chicken out at the last minute and she wouldn't mind. To be honest, joining a diet group, slimming group, had never really seemed an option to me. I don't know why. Maybe because of the whole so public way that they are carried out and the weighing in, having to stick to something so spot on week by week. I think it was a mixture of all of them really. But unless you try something, you will not know if you like it or not. I suppose I thought it would be a bit like Little Britain. Some horrible woman stood at the front calling us all fatties and bullying us into eating dust. Anybody? Dust? Anyway, that was just my preconceived idea. After a few weeks of us saying we were going to go and then not going, we eventually went to this slimming group. First Monday in February 2016, about 7 o'clock. We eventually did it. We went to this old school fairly local to me where it was being held. My old work friend picked me up and I was a little bit nervous. I walked in feeling like crap, to be honest, still with kidney water infection. The room was packed, really packed. We sat in the corner on some really small chairs with some other ladies who were twins, and we waited for the lady who was the group leader, Marie, to come and speak to us. The lady came over to us and sat with us. A brother and sister had also come and sat with us as well, wanting to join up. We all sat there listening to the lady speak. She seemed really nice. She explained all the foods we could eat. Now, some were called free foods. Free foods are the ones you can eat as much as you want, anytime, night or day, without exception. If you're hungry, eat some of this free food. I glanced at this list, and to my surprise, I actually liked most of what was on this list. Potatoes, rice, pasta, all vegetables, fruit. The list was never ending. I thought this was too good to be true. She then explained these healthy options as well. So like a couple of pieces of brown bread, Weetabix, some things like that, a portion of milk. You could have one each of these as well. Right, so that was it, yeah. As much of this free food as you wanted, one each of these healthy options. No, you could also have an allowance of naughty food, crisps, chocolate, things like that. It was only a small amount though, and you had to work this out. Wow, this all sounded a bit too good to be true. All this food, and I was going to be able to lose weight? I thought it was a bit unbelievable, really. On the downside, I now had to check everything I ate, cut out white bread, peanut butter in the huge quantities that I had it in, and also count these healthy extras and the treat food. And I would also have to do some of the dreaded exercise too. The first weigh-in. After we'd had the talk about the plan, we all sat with the group and listened to everyone's weight losses being read out. This wasn't as awkward as you might think, as it was the loss that was being read out and not the actual weight. Your weight would never be read out, company policy and all that. The group leader, Marie, went round everyone one by one and said how much they'd lost or how much they'd gained, and every time they got a clap, whether they'd put on or whether they'd lost or whether they'd stayed the same. I thought it was really nice. It was quite motivational, really. Some people had lost a few pounds, some people had lost 5, some people had lost half a pound, some people had stayed the same, some people had put a pound or 2 on. Some people were just happy that they'd stayed the same, especially if they'd been on holiday or been out for a meal or something. It didn't bother them. They were just happy that it was still there and they were still doing the plan. And they said, next week I'm going to go for £2 off, and they would bring it back in. It was a really nice atmosphere. The group leader came to me and my friend and the other newbies, and she asked us what we wanted to lose, and if we were happy and clear with the plan and we knew what we were doing. She said, don't hesitate to contact me if you need anything. How much more could you ask for? It was then time for our first weigh-in. Me and my friend and the other newbies made our way queuing for the scales. Everyone else had been weighed in. It was just us newbies that was going to get weighed at the end. I think I made my friend go first. She got weighed, and then it was my turn. I took my shoes off, as you always should when you get weighed. I watched the electronic numbers going up, up, 17 something, 18 something. Bloody hell. 18 stone, 5.5 pounds. I thought to myself, you fat meep. The lady sat doing the weigh-in, then asked me how much I wanted to lose. I just said 3 stone. I knew I wanted to be a size 32 waist, 12.5 stone, Daniel Craig lookalike, but how long was that going to take me? So I just said 3 stone for now. I thought to myself, that will take long enough, won't it? Me and my friend left the group and we went straight to the supermarket and stocked up. I think I spent about £50 on a trolley full, which wasn't bad really. Potatoes, wholemeal bread, fat-free yogurts, passata, peppers, onions, fry-like, skimmed milk, cereals that I could have, Weetabix, apples, oranges, pears, bananas, beans, peas, a few other things. No meat, as I'm vegetarian. Instead of buying a load of crisps and trying hard to not eat them all, I thought, this is a new start for me. I'm not going to buy any crisps. I'm going to buy rice cakes to give me that crunchy snack. So I bought some flavoured rice cakes. I thought to myself, I'm going for this 100%, and I do not need the temptation of crisps in the cupboard. I thought it was a little bit expensive at the time because I hadn't even got things like bleach, washing powder, toilet rolls, you know, the household things. But then I looked at the bagfuls I'd got and I thought, yes, this is going to last a week or two. The first week I stuck to the plan really well. Cut out the white bread, crisps, chips, things like that completely. My old eating plan had gone. Now was the new Richard. Pastas, stir fries, all made healthily, low fat. I did exercise as well. I went on walks, bike rides, and I went and bought a treadmill. It was only £50, which is pretty cheap, and it just fitted in the back of my car for the half-hour journey home. I thought £50 wasn't much for a treadmill, especially if I ended up just using it as a clothes airer. I'd had one before, but never really used it much. But this time, something told me it was going to be different. By the second weigh-in, or first one to see what we had lost, I'd lost £3.5. I was really pleased with that. Somewhere along the line, I thought it would be like half a stone in my first week, but £3.5 is pretty good. The slimming group was £4.95 and the joining fee was about a £5. But this got you support at the group, recipes, hints and tips, weight loss advice, and other members were there as well to speak to. It was a place to sort of make new friends as well. For the first couple of weigh-ins, I still had kidney stone pain and renal pain. I still felt a bit off it. Some Mondays I didn't feel like going as I felt ill, but after about the third week I noticed I felt a little bit better actually. The kidney infection I'd had for over a month seemed to be clearing up. I just generally felt better in myself. Was this a coincidence or not? Or did healthy food have a positive action on my body? By the time 3 to 4 weeks had gone by, I was past the half a stone mark and now under 17 stone. This didn't seem that impressive to me, as I thought I was about 17 stone something when I joined, but I wasn't. By the time a couple of months had gone by, I'd lost over a stone. It was at this point I told another friend about it. I managed to lose over a stone without really telling anybody, and nobody seemed to notice because I was wearing the same big clothes. People just didn't notice. I did though. The old baggy clothes were getting just that, baggy, very baggy. The huge jeans I wore were now in the bin. I was a 44 waist, and after a stone and a half had gone, I was now 42. Also, shirts and t-shirts fitted and looked better than they had done in a long time. One of my friends joined us at the weight loss group and said it was a new start for her too. We were all doing well. She also brought another friend along after a few weeks. I started to go swimming most Wednesdays by June or July time. It was an amazing feeling. Confident again about my body. Don't get me wrong, I was no Daniel Craig lookalike yet, but I felt better about being seen in public without my shirt on, without scaring young children or giving old people a heart attack. I used to go swimming and then for a sauna jacuzzi afterwards. It was a perfect way to chill out after a nice swim. While swimming, I would do quite a few lengths and try to make it a bit of a workout. By summer, I'd lost about 3 stone. From 18 stone 5.5 pounds to 15 stone 5 pounds. Waist-wise, I was now 38 and shrinking. I hadn't been a size 38 waist since 2005, 11 years ago. I got some jeans I bought in Blackpool out of the wardrobe, and they fitted again. In fact, they were too big. I started wearing several pairs of jeans out of the wardrobe, and it felt great to be back in them. People started to really notice how much weight I'd shifted. But even though I was at my 3 stone target, I was nowhere near happy. One night in group, I went to get weighed. I had not lost anything. I had not lost anything the week before. In fact, I think I'd put half a pound on. I was so peed off. I'd done everything right. Anyway, I thought, right, I am really going for it this week. I stuck to it 100% and I exercised like mad. Treadmill, walks with the dogs, some cardio. I stepped on the scales, 5.5 pounds off. Wow! I thought that was loads. It's the weight of some newborn babies. I'd lost that in 1 week. Everyone at group was asking, How have you done that? What have you done? What have you eaten? I think it was hard work and sticking to the plan. I was now under 15 stone, 14 stone something. I hadn't weighed this since about 2004. That's 12 years ago. Every loss for me was an encouragement to keep going with it, to stick with it and see more results. On the downside, when you have a great loss, you want it every week, and I knew this wasn't possible. Sometimes the next week after a great loss would be just a pound, half a pound, a pound and a half. I was hoping for like 5.5 pounds every week, but it was never going to happen. I kept the whole diet group thing to myself and still wore the same baggy clothes. I wore tighter ones at my barber job, but at my bar job I wore the same baggy clothes and no one really noticed until about the 3 or 4 stone mark. Then once I got to the 4 stone and less, people really did notice. I was out with some friends one night for a meal and I commented on how awesome the food was and tasted and how it was a real treat having such foods. They asked why and I told them I'd been dieting and they asked how much I'd lost. I said guess. They guessed around 2 stone, 2.5, but was amazed when I said I'd lost over 4 stone and was still losing. They couldn't believe it when I told them I was over 18 stone. They just couldn't believe it. I actually had to show them my group book. It was a weird time. I don't know where the energy and drive came from to keep me going to this weight loss group. I think it was the results that pushed me further. I work so hard with food and exercise, I deserve to do well. Everyone there is in the same boat. I like to lose every week. I push for a loss every week, at least a couple of pounds. I wanted the weight off as quickly as possible. I hated it. If you can lose 2 pounds a week, that's 8 pounds in a month. That's over half a stone. Some weeks were 3, 4, 5.5 pounds. These were amazing weeks. Some weeks were just a pound or a half a pound or a pound and a half. They all chipped away at the weight I wanted to get rid of. As the weight flew off, I kept getting awards at the group. Slimmer of the week, slimmer of the month, Slimming World Man of the Year, Mr. Sleek. It was happening so fast, it was like it wasn't real. I had to pinch myself and realise it was real. I was doing so well. For the first time in years, I was fitting back into all the nice clothes. I knew it was right to keep them. I'd not dare take them out of the wardrobe, but I knew it was right to keep them. One day I said I will get back into them. Getting back into the old clothes is one of the best feelings ever. Fitting back into jeans that wouldn't even go past the top of my legs and my arse. Jumpers and coats that were too tight that they looked like they were going to rip. Amazing feeling getting back into these clothes. Some of these clothes were still quite trendy and modern. Not like the supermarket jeans I nearly had to buy. Exercise. I've always hated exercise. I don't know why, but I just have. I will admit it. I hated football, I hated running, I hated tennis, I hated rugby, I hated anything that made you out of breath. Since school, right up until adulthood. Okay, biking and walking's okay, but at the end of the day, I hated all exercise. Still do a bit. The only sport or exercise I did like was biking or swimming, as they don't really feel like exercise. Biking, 2016. I used to bike with one of my friends in 2015, and he was much better than me. He had a brand new £500 bike, and he was fitter and a few stone less than me. We used to meet up after he had gone miles on his bike. I would meet him on the last leg of his journey. It was embarrassing, really. He would do 10 or 12 miles, and I would just manage to do the last 2 with him. I blamed him for having the better bike, and I think part of it was I was on an old bike he'd given me, but I was a few stone more than he was. So it was now 2016, 3.5 stone, 4 stone gone. We met up to go on a bike ride one night. Again, usually met him on his halfway spot. He'd just been and done miles on his new bike. We went on this circuit and went up a hill. I thought, oh no, no way am I going to get up this hill on a bike without gas and air or a defibrillator. I nearly needed jump starting or mouth to mouth last year when I tried getting up without getting off the bike. But to my surprise, we got to the top of the hill and I didn't need to get off the bike. My friend said to me, "You're a hell of a lot better. Why don't you come with me on the long bike rides?" This was a shock, really. He had noticed my great improvement. That was it, really. From then on, we went on long bike rides. Sometimes it was for a couple of hours at a time, through rough wooded tracks to road biking, and all the time more weight was coming off and off. The fresh air and the exercise made me feel great, and the first time in a long time I felt free of the old me and like a new person had come along. All I had to do was do this all along. I wish I'd done this sooner. I felt like I'd lost about 12-13 years of my life being the big me. Why have I waited so long? What stopped me? By late summer I was at my 4 stone target, and I still went to the group, and it was great being a target member. And I think I went as a target member for maybe a few weeks, but not something that was going to last that long. Telling people how good I felt and how I'd got to my 4 stone target, but I could still see some improvement in my body, and the weight was still coming off. So what was a boy to do? In October 2016, I set a new target of 5 stone. 5 bloody stone. I think this had probably been my target all along. You know, when I was stood there and she asked me how much I'd wanted to lose and I said 3, I think I meant 5. Halloween that year was great. I went to a Halloween party as a zombie, in a zombie surgeon's costume. I bought one and it was a size large. It was huge. I had to take it back. And I got the size small, medium. I felt great at the party. It was slim fitting and everyone was saying to me, "Bloody hell, you can see you've lost weight. You look so different." It was an amazing night. I want to be at my 5 stone target before Christmas. Biking sessions were becoming less because of the dark nights and the rubbish weather coming in, so it was a matter of sticking to the healthy food and doing some exercise at home in the garage on the treadmill. I did this, and by mid-December I was at my target weight of 5 stone, just in time for Christmas. Amazing. So from February to December, I'd lost 5 stone. Wow. If anybody had said to me at the beginning of 2016, by Christmas time, you will have lost 5 stone, feel 1,000 times better, and feel so good about yourself, I would have just laughed. I started the year with constant water infections and pain. But here I was, Christmas, 5 stone less, feeling like a new person. Amazing. At Christmas, I went to see some of my family. I hadn't seen some of them since I'd lost some of the weight. It was quite an emotional time. I sat there at my sister's house, and everyone was sat around open-mouthed just looking at me, commenting on how different I looked. and asking how much I'd actually lost. They were all quite fussy, and I just sat there, and I felt like I could burst into tears any minute, really. It was such a shock. It felt like I'd been on this fantastic, quick journey, and then suddenly stopped and was taking everything in. Over Christmas, I lost a few more pounds as well. I tried to keep at my 5 stone target, but I think I was a little bit ill over Christmas, and it made me lose a few more pounds. But after Christmas, I went back to the group, and I managed to get back to my 5 stone target by putting a few pounds back on. What an amazing year. 5 stone gone. What would happen next? End of chapter 9.